welcome to this latest episode of Genpact's Thought Leadership Sessions. My name is Brajesh Jha, and I lead Genpact's global business vertical that is responsible for our business across the media, entertainment, advertising, and publishing industries. Today's focus is the finance function and the critical role played by the finance leaders. To talk about this topic and more, I have a special guest for you today. Please welcome Carolyn Isaacs. She is the Global Director of Finance Services and Transformation for Dentsu. Carolyn, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Brajesh. Good to be here.
So, first half of 2023 is coming to a close, and this is turning out to be quite a tough year for the media and advertising companies. The spotlight is on balance sheets. Investors and analysts are all looking at free cash flows to assess the financial health of a company. They're basically checking for profitability, whether a company has enough cash to repay debts, finance dividend payments, and buy back shares. So what this implies is that the finance functions need to be ready, and they have to strike that tricky balance of managing costs today and also helping drive growth. So as a professional services firm, we hear from CFOs and finance leaders at all these companies, and we are seeing some critical themes that have started to emerge. The first one, there is a heavy reliance on data and analytics to create efficiencies and opportunities in the business. The second one is digital transformation for transparency and driving zero cycle time, zero time to insight, and one holistic experience. Third thing, GBS is becoming the driver for agility, cost savings, efficiency, and driving large scale transformations. And finally, the role of FP&A, most critical for scenario modeling, forecasting, and so on. So, Carolyn, tell us at Dentsu, how is finance leading the change in terms of building a competitive advantage across the board?
Thank you, Brajesh. As you say, Dentsu is a Japanese-owned company which bought what became Dentsu International probably about 10 years ago now. And this had been run and operated in quite a separate way. I think recognition over the last few years is we needed to simplify the business. As we further decided to actually create one Dentsu late last year, that's meant that we as finance have also been looking at, well, how do we create one Dentsu finance? And I think, in terms of the business, we as finance need to support that business. And as we move forward, our three service lines, creative, media, and CT&T, customer transformation and technology, increasingly we can see our business expanding in that latter area. And indeed, a lot of our growth has been coming from there. And as we look at acquisitions, that's another area where we're really looking at wanting to grow that particular space. And indeed, in March, we announced our intent to acquire TAG, which has production capability and is in that CT&T space. So really that's where we're focusing and developing as a business, and we as finance are doing what we can to support that, continuing to think about simplification, but importantly how we as finance can help drive performance and growth.
Tell me, how are you leveraging your partners? You work with a range of them across the board.
Genpact are an integral part of our finance model. Our finance function is really built on 4 pillars. So commercial finance, really helping support and partner with the business. Finance controllership, operational finance, and specialist areas such as M&A and tax and treasury. And we've got a very clear operating model whereby our commercial finance sit alongside the business to work hand in hand, where we have a small corporate centre. We're really providing some of that oversight and expertise, then really leveraging what we call finance services in the shared services and COE space. And I've been partnering with Genpact over the last 4 years in terms of working together and thinking about both getting services from Genpact, but also leaning into some of your expertise in terms of what's happening in the marketplace and what are the things we should be thinking about.
Now let's talk a bit deeper in terms of the planning and forecasting cycle. So a lot of the times those have to be standardized, and the decision making becomes particularly relevant in the time of integration of so many various entities as you are bringing them along. What are your thoughts for other finance leaders who might learn from your experience so far?
A couple of years ago, I think we recognized that we could really leverage and needed to think more about standard reporting. And in terms of that, we've really put a lot of focus behind let's agree what our standard reports were. We've grown through multiple acquisitions and every single business was looking at the results in a slightly different way. So actually putting that focus on reporting, making sure we had available reports in a standard way across our markets, across our service lines, etc. Really trying to think about also how we could look at client profitability. So that's really been around reporting. What we're now looking at is, okay, if we can get the common reporting, what do we need to do about planning? And in terms of the planning space, really thinking about, because making sure we're thinking in a common way, looking at what's the common technologies we can use. So we're looking at SAP Analytics Cloud, how we can use that, link that to some of our end-to-end systems. So how we can link that to data that we hold in our people system in Workday, how we can use that to then plan based on what staff we actually have.
Let me ask you one last question. A lot of the leaders, when they work in a federated structure with so many different markets and so many different stakeholders that they have to manage, they sometimes look to the global finance function to bring everyone together, to have that common sense of purpose. You have done that beautifully at Dentsu from what I have seen. Any words of wisdom for others in that regard?
Finance tends to have a role to play in every market and part of the business. And I think, therefore, if finance can talk in a common way about what they can bring, that can be really helpful to create some standardization across the markets. It's great you hear that you see Dentsu doing some great things in that area. I think there's more we can do. And I look forward to finance really continuing to contribute to the business across an array of areas, be that planning, be that business partnership, be that making sure we have the right controls in place, making sure we're doing things in the right way. They're all the things that I think finance can really contribute to.